part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, he's the NBA writer and founder of HoopsWire.com. He's our Cavs Insider National NBA writer, Sam Amico. Sam, it is always a good week when we get to talk, man. How you doing?
Very well. It's been a couple weeks since we talked, so needless to say, I've missed you.
You and Sable you went to the game and recorded live at the Rock. That's pretty cool, man. I was a little jealous.
Yeah, we made sure to rub it in that you weren't there. We knew you'd be jealous.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sable, he's sitting this one out tonight. Same with the JIA. Jeremy is in the middle, putting the final touches on this shoe drive. If you guys aren't aware, Jeremy has this incredible charity where he pretty much provides brand new brand basketball shoes for this entire school. And he does it during the holiday season, and he's putting the finishing touches on that. They had enough donations and enough money and enough new shoes for every kid in this elementary school to get a new pair of shoes. And they're like legit, like brand player shoes. And so he's putting the finishing touches on that. Incredible stuff from Jeremy. Shouts to him for getting that together. Shouts to Zach for checking this pod out. Zach, when hey, listen, man, appreciate it. But also with us tonight to help us talk Cavs and all of their second half struggles, a man who knows a thing or two about basketball. He was the voice of the Cavs for 11 years, currently covering hoops for ESPN and co-host the Reghi and Rhoda Show right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Michael Reghi. Reg, great to have you back with us, man.
I appreciate you having me, Chase, and always good to talk hoops with Sam. We did quite a bit of that back in the day during my Cavalier time. So, yeah, great. A lot of fun to be with you, too.
Lovely. Reg, I don't know if you know, the last time you were on the Cavs on the Break, it's an episode that kind of lives in infamy. We talked a little bit about Isaac Okoro, and you got a little heated because I'm the president of the Isaac Okoro fan club, and I still get
You're the
remarks
guy
about,
I don't like.
Man,
Huh?
It's a fan club's down to about Chase and
it's me.
A couple of
As the president, I'm the treasurer, and I take notes at every meeting.
So you're saying it's dwindling, Sam?
Yeah,
it's dwindling. Okay,
I would think.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's great to have you here. Look, let me give us kind of like a state of where we're at, and then we can go from there. Because what I don't want to do is overreact, even though this is a podcast and it's easy to do. Because I think looking at the big picture paints a different picture than maybe what we're going to talk about tonight. The Cavs are 17-11, sitting third in the East. They're half a game up on the Nets, who's at 4, 3 games back of the Bucks at 2, 4 games back of the Celtics at 1. The Cavs have won 8 of their last 10 games. Let me just preface everything we're going to say with that. 8 of the last 10. But I have to say, guys, it seems that the Cavs are a tale of two teams. And you've seen this discourse all over Twitter. You've seen this discourse talked about. The Cavs at home are 12-2. It's the best home record in the East. They're tied with the Grizzlies and the Warriors for the best home record in the NBA. They're 12-2. They take care of home court. Away, though, a little different story. The Cavs are 5-9. It's 5-9. They struggle to hit the deep ball. They turn the ball over. I mean, they do that at home too, but they go through long stretches where they simply don't score. They're careless with the ball. Sam, is this a cause for concern or much ado about nothing?
It's a little bit of a concern. I think it's, what have you done for me lately? And I know that they've won 8 of 10. If I'm correct, they've also lost 2 of 3, correct? They lost the Kings, beat the Thunder, and lost Spurs. So,
yes.
And in those 3 games, even the win over the Thunder, they didn't look particularly very good. And that's a team, granted, the Thunder are better, much improved, and better than a lot of people expected they would be this early in the season.
And the Kings, right?
Oh, sure. Yes. The Kings, much improved. Those are teams that you expect to probably beat at home. The Thunder aren't going to the playoffs. You want to beat the non-playoff teams at home, which they did. but it wasn't easy. It was a struggle. And you're right, Chase. It's kind of the tale of two teams, not necessarily game to game, but within the game. We saw last night Monday night against the Spurs, terrible first half, great second half. And Donovan Mitchell even said, we played their record. We didn't play a team. We played their record, and that really cost us in the first half. So I think with a young team, and I don't even want to say a young team, but a team that's, still newer, your main guys, Mobley, Garland, Allen, and even Mitchell are still young guys. You're integrating Mitchell. So, I mean, those things are going to happen throughout the course of the season. You're going to lose games to teams you should beat. It happens every year. So, no, you don't want to overreact. But, yeah, there are some signs here of, okay, there are a few areas here that are lacking. And they could continue to frustrate from time to time unless they address those needs.
Reg, what have you noticed with this club?
Overall, I'm very enthused just looking at because, we know from our football buddy, Mr. Bill Parcells, the legendary coach, you are what your record says you are. And I'm a big proponent of that in every team sport. And so, 17-11, you faction this out, fellas. And I mean, so you're looking at a 51-win basketball team. If you times this by 3, of course, minus a couple of games, but in the 82-game season, overall, I'm enthused. I don't like what's going on. You just laid it out, Chase, so I'm not going to reiterate the whole thing. But overall, you can't be, if you want to be a championship contender, you can't have this type of disparity between. Look, everybody's going to play better. The better team. The teams that are playoff teams are going to have winning records and then some at home. But to me, if the Cavaliers, I thought you got to be looking at a 23-18, a 24-17 in your 41 road games. To me, I mean, if you want to legitimize this thing and be a 50-plus win team that really has a legitimate shot, if to go deep in the playoffs, then they got to get this thing straightened out and picked up on the road. And you cannot be losing to the San Antonio Spurs of the NBA world. I don't care if you're playing them out, on the hardwood here in one of the Cleveland playgrounds. I'm sorry, you just can't lose that basketball game. And maybe Donovan Mitchell was right what he said. They played their record. Well, okay, so Donovan, you are one of the voices and leaders of this team, then somebody's got to get that squared away because that they can't continue to do.
Right. What's a bigger cause for concern to you, Reg? The lack of scoring in stretches or the turnovers the Cavs just can't seem to fix?
Turnovers for me, because, there are times, and you hit me with, sometimes my questioning of Isaac Okoro. There are some things, as good as Darius Garland is, there are times, fellas, there are stretches that I look at and say, and just Darius, no, man.
Are we having that discussion now? Because I'm ready for that Darius Garland discussion.
I'll give it to you then. To me, and you got to protect the ball better, man. And I'm not sure I like 22 shots a night from Darius Garland either. I'll throw that right out there right now. I don't think that that's necessary by him. And I think he's starting to get a little bit too shot prevalent in his overall game as the guy that's got to run this offense, protect the basketball, and get everybody involved. I don't like when he takes 22 to 24 shots a night. I don't think that's necessary.
Woo! Sam is getting me fired up. Sam, come on. Are you going to? Are we? You want to have this discussion with us, Sam? Where are you out in DG?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. Number one, he shouldn't be shooting 22 times a game. I think against the Spurs, he had more shots than anybody, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
On the team.
That's correct.
So that should never happen. Not when you're the point guard, unless you're Ja Morant or, prime Kyrie Irving or something like that. Then you maybe have more shots. But, he's probably better in the 15-20 range. And more than anything, Chase, and we know this, and Michael just touched on it. You've got to take care of the basketball when you're the primary ball handler. Now, granted, you're probably going to have more turnovers than most, my concerns with Darius, and he's a fantastic young player. So, there's still room to grow. And I really think having Ricky Rubio back will help him immensely, just because Rubio tends to lead by example. Garland admitted last year, watching him play, going against him in practice just teaches me so much. And Rubio shows you how to be the consummate point guard. And I think he's missed having him out there a little bit. So those are all the positives. The negatives are, sometimes I feel like he has the Larry Hughes disease. If you guys remember Larry Hughes,
Larry.
Yeah, wonderful guy, really nice player. But there were times where I would watch him and think, it's very clear what he's thinking right now. And that is, it's my turn to shoot. So, I don't know that Darius Garland thinks that. I think maybe he thinks I better shoot because we can't generate any offense. But I think, the more he learns, the more you pass, the better shot opportunities not only are your teammates going to get, but you're going to get. I think that once he gets that understanding, he'll be okay. But right now, way too many turnovers, way too many attempts to make the Instagram-worthy highlight play. Just make the simple play sometimes. And I think he's got to understand that, have a little better understanding of that. And, hopefully that comes in time.
Yeah. I understand the Larry Hughes moment. I see that more with Donovan Mitchell. That it's my turn. I didn't, whatever. I see that more with Donovan Mitchell than I do with Darius Garland. What I see with Darius Garland is this attempt to be this point guard that they're paying him to be. That, hey, if you're paying me to do this, and we have been known to struggle to score, I've got to try to make something happen. What I'm concerned about with him is when he does penetrate in the lane, he's got to get stronger. And he's going in penetrating, expecting to get bailed out with calls that he hasn't earned or is just too weak to get that call. And then because of that, then he loses it's this domino effect that, he and both Donovan Mitchell is way stronger than Darius Garland. And I think that is glaringly obvious when someone pressures him on defense as well. Like whenever he's dribbling and there's a lot of defensive pressure, his size is a weakness. And that concerns me. And not to get really technical, how he shoots the ball, he has this weird lean back, or it's not a textbook form. There's a weird element to it that, and I don't know. He's in the NBA. I'm here in front of a microphone, so he's obviously better than me. But he doesn't seem like he jumps straight. There's something about his shot that I don't trust near the end of games. And all of a sudden, it's in the Spurs. He has a wide open corner three, and it wasn't even close.
Well, I've noticed that, Chase. When you see him get his feet set behind the 3-point line, he knocks it down every time. And you're right. And a lot of NBA players are that way, which, they can do that. They can get away without the perfect form. But he's a knockdown shooter when he's set, which, most guys are in the NBA. But there are times, he's got just off kilter. He's very good at those floaters in the lane too.
Yes.
But again, he has to be.
He's 6'1" and whatever. Right. Reg, you love.
Well, you touched on it. You touched on it, and both of you. And I mean, again, it's about the hope is that he gets stronger, because if he's going to drive, draw, and whether it's then in the paint, get his floater up himself, continue to the rim, or even kick to someone, Sam, I think you alluded to it correctly. He's going to take some shots now, and he's got to be able to ward defenders off a little bit. And with his body size right now, he's just not able to do that. And then those times that he does get, I like to get loose with the basketball, that becomes an issue, and that becomes a problem, because it's obvious they want him to be the guy that initiates offense. And so you got some of these things that can turn into issues that we've all just laid out. And yet, the young man is a tremendous talent. And I think he's got between his ears in the right place.
I agree.
Let's just hope that as what is he, 23 years old? As the career goes on, let's just hope some of these things start to become an afterthought for us, because again, not to be the voice, but because if they're not, and 2-3 years from now, this is what it still is, they're not going to win a championship. You can't win a championship with that kind of a point guard play.
I'm curious, just the style of and the makeup of our team. You have the undersized guard play and the 7-foot big men. Those big men stay around the basket in the paint, which just attract other large bodies in the paint. So whenever Garland does penetrate, they're going to be there. You look at a team like a Boston or even a Toronto where they're more spacing, maybe would lend itself better to the penetration that Garland can create. There aren't as many. So I don't know. Then you're getting into coaching, which, Reg, we had an interesting conversation about.
I'd like to hear Sam's thoughts on this, because now we're getting into the coaching aspect of it and what the head coach and his staff are looking at to be. What do they want the identity of their offensive game to be? Sam, I'm not sure. I'm not there every night any longer, but I'm not sure that, I can tell you at first blush what that is, quite frankly. Now, maybe you can help enlighten me a little bit on it, but I'm really not sure offensively where they are with who they believe they are and where they're trying to go with it.
Yeah, I think that they would like to be, a team that plays, obviously in today's NBA, you're going to take a lot of threes, but I think that they're kind of old school in the sense that let's try to get Allen and Mobley going near the basket, and that will create things for, theoretically our shooters. We always hear the drive and dish, element to the NBA. They're kind of a drive and lob, where it's more like Garland will drive in. If he doesn't have a shot, then he lobs it up to Allen and Mobley, and that works a lot. But, I think they're okay offensively. They obviously, look, every team could use one, but they need somebody who's going to knock down perimeter shots from the wing on a regular basis. And I know they're looking for that. Those players aren't readily available because they're so valuable, but that would create a lot of, open a lot of things up. They were kind of hoping Okoro was going to be that corner 3 guy. At the start of the year, kind of a Bruce Bowen type, hitting the threes. He has not developed into that right now. So I think that,
ever will he?
I'm
sorry.
Well, Michael, okay. I mean, we know this covering the NBA. 3 years is usually that's when Darius Garland made his rise. It's usually that third year, pretty much that's who you're going to be the rest of your career. For the most part, there's a little bit of room for growth, but when you hit year 3, that's pretty much the year that you said, okay, this guy, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, even Donovan Mitchell, you look at those guys, their first 2 years, and look at year 3, that's always when you ascend. It always seems that way in the NBA, and Okoro has not, I don't think he's regressed. He's just not gotten any better. He's not contributing any more than he was last season. He in terms of impact, he's probably right below Chetty. Chetty has one good game every 7 games. Okoro's probably one every 12, 13 games. And then you get excited, and then the next game, he goes out. It's just kind of running around out there. You're almost playing 4-on-5 on offense. But as far as their philosophy on offense, I think that they know, look, we've got 2 guards who can pretty much score whenever. But ideally, we want to create space for them right now without that knockdown perimeter shooter. We want to create space by going inside to our big guys and get things, under the basket, and then, forcing the opposing guards to come down double team and open things up for Mitchell and Garland. So a lot of times it works out that way. I mean, like you said, they're 17-11, things are okay, but there's always ways to improve and be more consistent. Even if you lose games, you still want to be consistent in your approach, because then you feel better when you're going in the playoffs.
Yeah, I want to follow that up, but I want to wrap up this conversation on Darius Garland. I don't feel like our road woes will be solved until he learns to take care of the ball. Until he starts taking care of the ball, I think that's that first step. And I hate to be the guy who podcasts about his own tweet, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now. The Cavs average 14.8 turnovers a game, 11th most in the league, and they had 20 against the Kings. That game where they just couldn't get anything going. It was sick. So
those turnovers, Chase, those lead to easy baskets, and that impacts their defense because it leads to easy transition baskets for the opponent. Cavs are a pretty good half-court defensive team,
the best in the NBA.
Yeah, but when they're turning the ball over,
yeah,
that's creating points for the other team.
Before we take a break, I want to give shouts to Karis LeVert because he has had a very strong week, and without him against the Spurs, the Cavs would not have had a chance in that game. He created shots. At the end of the day, it's all about buckets. It's about getting buckets, and off the bench, no one else was scoring. No one else was even remotely looked like they could attack the basket against the Spurs. I mean, him and Mitchell, he played great. And at this point,
I don't understand why, again, maybe you two can enlighten me. It seems like I'll say a portion of the Cavaliers fan base seems to, when things aren't going well, I don't understand it for the life of me. Young man's a damn good player, man.
Yeah.
Now, he's a scorer, okay? He's not a shooter per se, and we know the difference in that. But the thing is, we're talking about shots, right? He put those 22 points up last night on 13 shots.
Yeah.
13 shots, 9 of 13. So that is extremely efficient. And if you notice, I believe he's second on the team behind Garland in assists per game too, I think, or it's very close. It's like 4.5 assists per game. So to me, I like Karis LeVert a lot. And I think that he's the type of guy that, as this year goes on and the longer he's with this team in situations, that require strength of his that he can provide, I think he's going to be a large factor if the Cavaliers are going to have overall success that we've been talking about. I think he's going to be and will need to be one of the main factors with that.
He played great against San Antonio, Sam.
Yeah, he played great against the Kings, the Thunder. You talk about San Antonio. If it wasn't for him in the game against the Thunder too, could have been different. But with LeVert, it seemed like the beginning of the year they asked him. JB Bickerstaff said, "Look, we need you to be more of a facilitator, which is not who you are, but don't lose your scoring, but try to be the facilitator too." He's done a fantastic job, I think, of facilitating.
He seems to be a great team player, as much as a scorer can be. And then he took a step back from scoring a little bit, and I think it took him a little bit to adjust. Yeah.
And Chase, the last week has been very, very promising with him, and I'm with Michael. I'm a big fan, and I hope that this continues for him because that will take them places.
He has length, right? I really think he tries hard on defense. It's like a Jordan Clarkson, but not as big of a liability on defense almost. And so I play great. Jeremy is dead set that he's going to get traded. At this point, I don't know who else would score off the bench if he gets moved. Like we don't have that much depth to score.
No,
I don't think you can. You can't count on you can't count on Kevin Love right now to give you 15 to 17 points a night off the bench, and I think that's what LeVert will do.
He still seems like he's getting back to his game ready. Kevin Love,
yeah, could be. Yeah, I just don't know if that type of consistency every night is reality for Kevin any longer. I mean, we know he can shoot the ball, but you notice there are nights the minutes are really down more like to 14, 13, 14, right, Sam? No, I don't know if anyone's asked JB Bickerstaff about that, but I've noticed there are times when Kevin's just not on the floor in the fourth quarter, crunch time of games. It seems to be, Mobley, Allen, LeVert, Mitchell, and Garland.
He was playing.
I mean, if the game's on the line, those five are the ones on the floor.
True.
And I'm not saying I have question with that. I'm
just
saying, to me, it looks like his minutes have started to shrink.
Well, before his injury, he was incredibly efficient, like almost like a triple. Like he would do like 15, 12 points and like 15 points, 12 boards, like 9 assists and like 15, 20 minutes. Like it was like super efficient. And to me, it just seems like he's still, taking his time, working his way back. Which I'm fine. And Sam, you hit on this and we haven't really spent time with. I think Ricky Rubio is going to be a piece that helps all these other pieces kind of at least reach their maximum potential with us here, right? I think you're going to see a different type of player
100%.
With Kevin. You're going to see a different player with Garland, with LeVert, it's just going to like make everything gel. And I'm really curious as when he gets back, see what this looks like.
Yeah, I think it's a different story. We saw, if you look at the Cavs last season, right? Okay. They were humming through the Eastern Conference. Rubio goes down. They play about 500 basketball the rest of the way. Okay. Now some of that they had, Garland went down for a little bit. LeVert went down for a little bit and Allen. So it wasn't all Rubio, but, and Colin Sexton, when he was still here after, game 10 said, I saw him on Bally Sports said, look, we can Darius and I can get a little wild out there. And there's where Rubio comes in. He comes in and calms everybody down, gets the game under control, and they could use that. When we talk about turnovers and those type of things, Rubio is the kind of guy who really is kind of the coach on the floor and is actually showing them, look, let's just calm this down. Let's work the ball around and get a good shot. So, yeah, I think his impact, even if he's not as good as he was last season in terms of statistics, his impact just being there and, keeping things moving, facilitating and just leading, by example, by those guys watching him, will be a big boost to all their games. I will say this about Rubio, never gets enough credit for this, but for his entire career, if you watch him, he gets guys the ball where they like it, where they like to shoot. He delivers it, to them almost as they're in their shooting motion. He is very skilled that way, and that tends to bring out the best in your teammates when you do that.
Sam, do they wait to make a move until Rubio?
Yes. They'll wait to make a move. If you're talking about a trade or something, yeah, they're gonna wait and see what he can bring them. And he's practicing with the Cleveland Charge and practicing with the Cavs. He's doing 5-on-5. It's really just a matter at this point of getting him in game shape. So they'll have probably, I would say, a good month before the trade deadline to figure out, okay, how's he working out? What are our needs? And take it from there. Because, I mean, look, like we said, they're 17-11 now. You figure, with him, they probably will play more consistently. And then you can make your decisions. Okay, what do we need? How we go about it without blowing up the roster? How are we going to go get, a Luke Kennard or, an Alec Burks or somebody else that can kind of come in and hit some shots for us? Because right now they could use one of those guys. You don't need to make that trade until you see the team with Rubio.
Well, Chase Smith is available to make those shots in case the Cavs are curious. So.
It might come to that.
Sign him up, baby. Sign him up.
Reg, would you be the first one in the Chase Smith club here? Would you charter that?
Asking me to be your agent to try to make that happen?
No, I'm asking to be in my fan club if I'm a charter member.
Oh, yes.
I got Reg. Sorry, Sam.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, I don't know that I would jump on board right away.
That's okay. That's okay.
I would root for you if you made the team.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break here from our good friends at DraftKings. We come back, we'll talk about the Week 9 slate Cavs have an interesting couple games coming up. Stick around.
Ohio, listen, I have some great news for you. DrafKings Sportsbook is coming to the Buckeye State, and Press Play Podcast has sponsored with them to help you get the most bang for your buck. And it won't be long until you can bet on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home. To celebrate, all new customers will receive $200 in free bets when you sign up today using our promo code P3Cavs. That's capital P, the number 3, capital C, capital A, capital V, capital S, P3Cavs. Plus, 5 lucky customers will win a $100,000 free bet. You heard that right. $100,000 free bet. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving you, right now, if you sign up for free, $200 in free bets just for signing up with our promo code, no deposit required. And you'll be entered to win a $100,000 free bet when you sign up. I just did it. It is super simple. It's easy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, wherever you get your apps on your phone. It is the best. You'll receive that $200 in your account the moment sports betting becomes legal in Ohio, looking like January 1st. You don't want to miss out on this incredible offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966, 21 years, ages, and older. You have to be physically present in Ohio. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory license requirements. One entry per customer. $200 will be issued as 8 $25 free bets. No purchase necessary for sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Ends the first day DraftKings is allowed to operate in Ohio. See terms at dkng.co/OH.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tyvis, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of The Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Reghi, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Kenny, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it. Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Reghi and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
All right, we are back. Cavs on the break. Sam Amico, Michael Reghi, talking Cavs basketball. And here's where the Cavs coming up. An interesting kind of week 9 slate here. On Wednesday, today, you're listening to this on this tonight. The Cavs are playing Luka Doncic and the Mavericks at American Airlines Arena at 9 p.m. And then on Friday, December 2nd, Friday, December 16th, the Cavs are going to host the Indiana Pacers at the Rock at 7:30. My family and I will be at that game. We are going to the game. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're getting a hotel in Cleveland. We're just staying up there. It's going to be great. The Cavs host the Pacers, and the Cavs also host the Smiths that night. And then Saturday, back to back, they host the Mavericks. Second time in 4 days they play them. This time at the Rock, 8 p.m. Reg, what do you want to see out of the Cavs over these next couple games here? What are you looking for here if you're Cleveland? To see?
Don't let Luka Doncic get 80 plus points in the 2 games.
No records.
That would be a good start. Yeah.
Yeah. And personally destruct the Cavaliers in each game. To me, those 3 games, again, you want to win 2 of them. I mean, ideally, you'd love to win all 3, but I think 2 of them are certainly a must in going forward again. And going back to, though, I just agree with you guys 1,000,000%. I think when Ricky Rubio returns, and I'm hoping that, as was the main thrust of our first segment, I hope that young Darius Garland really, I know last year, Rubio was here, but really, really let Rubio take you and bring you to, the positioning that you need to be, Darius, as the point guard with this basketball team. So, and I hope Ricky Rubio is something that is a want of his too, because I think it would be extremely important for, Garland's growth and development and this team in general too. So I'm very much looking forward to having Rubio back on the floor. Yeah.
Sam, what are you looking forward to this week 9 slate here? Kind of interesting. Mavericks twice, huh?
Yeah, I was going to say same thing Michael did. It'd be nice to win 2 out of 3 for them, for the Cavs, kind of get, their good feelings back. It seems like since they beat the Lakers in LA, they've still been good. They've still been winning games. They just don't seem to have that little extra moxie. It seemed like when the Clippers came back, that game was over. The Cavs had won that game. That was like, and I know you probably didn't watch, Chase, but it was like the Browns
I watched
against
the Clippers game. I watched.
No. I'm saying my comparison was like the Browns against the Jets. That game was over. It was in hand, and the Cavs really against the Clippers.
I'm going to
really
bleep out that B word on this pod, Sam.
Yeah, way to ruin everybody's day, huh? But I would say since that Clippers game, they've been good.
Mm-hmm.
They've been promising, but there's that little bit where it seems like every game there's a stretch where it's just like, what are you guys doing? Against San Antonio, it was the entire first half,
Well, against the Bucks after Thanksgiving, they don't score like 9 points in the third quarter. They were beating the Bucks.
Yeah, they did it against the Kings. They had to come back. Now, granted, we've all been around the NBA enough and seen it long enough that you realize, basketball's a game of runs. So that happens, but they've just been a little bit too loose when they get the lead, or they come out flat sometimes. And they just need to be, and I know it drives JB nuts, so it's something he addresses with them. And he has said there are times our guys tend to believe the press clippings and the praise and we're the up and coming team and all that stuff is true, but you've got to go out and prove it for a whole 48 minutes or at least, 36 of them. And I think that's where that's where you want to be after these 3 games. You want to start moving in that direction because frankly, you're almost at the midway point of the season already. So, you want to get that moving in the right direction, that kind of mindset.
Here's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see the Luka Donovan Mitchell alpha baller basketball player off, because they both think they're the best. And I want to see this duel. I want to see all the Twitter highlights. I want to see them just go at it, exchange buckets. I think Mitchell thinks he's that guy. And he's proven he is that guy.
He's pretty close. I mean, Luke is on another stratosphere right now, but Mitchell's pretty close.
But I don't think Mitchell's going to just accept that. I think he's the kind of person going to be like, oh yeah, well, hey, let's
I'm sure he
I'm better
will.
than
I'm
this
sure.
guy. And,
Yeah.
and as a basketball fan, I mean, that's just players playing at the highest level on earth that you just get to watch and enjoy. And
you
so
love
I hope
their
that
grit,
happens.
right? Donovan, you love his grit, his will to compete.
Oh my gosh. We're
The
talking about that
fact that
sequence against the end of the Spurs game where he saved that ball that went out of bounds.
Right.
And then he just like took on the whole team and then got the rebound and then got it back up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, love watching the guy because he's always going to be locked in. He's never going to cheat you or cheat the game itself in any way, shape, or form. So, really strong get a player like him for the Cavaliers, and again, I mean, the hope is that he is the guy, just from the playing perspective every night that can take this basketball team to the heights that everybody wants them to be. But yeah, I mean, the Rubio coming back, I do believe we're going to see a difference in pattern of play, and especially, hopefully, fingers crossed, that this road record starts to get back to 500 and a little bit above. Yeah. Because if they do that, then they're going to be a 50 to 55 win team this year.
Like I think Mavericks will take the first game in Dallas. I think we beat the Pacers at home, and then I think Donovan Mitchell gets his first game winner for the Cavs against the Mavericks.
That's a very specific. Very specific.
And I think Luka is going to hit a bucket.
Put some money on that. Hang on.
I think Luka will hit a bucket in the game today. Maybe not last second, but it'll be final minute that puts him up. And I think Mitchell will get him back in Cleveland.
I think the Cavs are going to win in Dallas.
Okay.
Then play the Pacers, and then
a little letdown game.
Well, second night of a back-to-back, the Mavericks will be really motivated. I'll tell you what, Dallas is similar in some ways to the Cavs in that you never know what you're going to get from their role players. There are teams that, like the Celtics, have Marcus Smart. You know exactly, he's a role player, but you know exactly what he's going to do every night, and he never veers from it. The Mavericks are full of guys like, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, nice players. You just never know from one night to the next what you're going to get, and what they deliver usually determines, because Luka's going to do his thing regardless, but what those other guys deliver is really determines whether they win or lose. So Chase, I didn't mean to cut off your very detailed prediction, because I
that's fine.
Going to put some money down on it.
I got it out there.
Carry on.
I got it out there. Let's see. Hey, but before we go, over the weekend, the NBA lost a legend, Paul Silas, who did coach the Cavs for a couple years, among other things. Would you guys like to share any stories or any your experiences with Coach Silas?
Yeah, very. I really, really enjoyed Paul. A real engaging man, and while he was the head coach here, I was calling the games on the television side. So was with him every day, home, road, and tough, hard-minded basketball man. Yeah. And there were days, I say, with a little bit of humor added and a smile, that the likes of Ricky Davis and Ira Newble and those type, they wanted no part of the big man, because the big man would come after them on the practice floor during games and let them know what they happened to be doing at that particular time to him was is abhorrent, unacceptable, and get the hell off my court and bench. And I mean that literally. And so me being an old school curmudgeon myself, even back then, I mean, I love Paul. I love Paul and the way he coached. And of course, Paul, he was the first head coach for LeBron James when he came into the NBA. And, everybody said, oh, that's it. Well, again, I'll just say that, there are some situations that came with that, put Paul in at times maybe an unpopular light, but Paul again wanted. Again, I'll just say it the way. Now, LeBron, this is the way you're going to learn to play the NBA game. It's got to be this. It's got to be this way. We can't have you going rogue, basically, at times. And of course, and I don't say that negativity on LeBron. He was an 18-year-old kid. Yeah. But Silas did let him know when those times would occur that no, it's not going to be that way. This is the way it's going to be. And I think overall, LeBron really, really enjoyed being coached like that, knowing the competitive edge that LeBron played with. Again, he's only 18 years old. Sure. I'm sure at times he didn't realize, why is this guy getting on me like this? Doesn't he understand I'm the best player on this team? Yeah. Paul Silas understood that, knew that, and yet he wanted him to come into the league and do the things the right way, the way that Paul learned it as a champion with the Boston Celtics. And so, but no, I really enjoyed him, and condolences to his entire family, and he'll be missed. He'll be missed by the entire NBA world.
I haven't heard one person say a bad thing about him, just like the utmost respect for him on the court. Sam, did you have any run-ins with Paul?
Yeah, I started covering the Cavs. I think it was Mike Brown's first year. So I wasn't covering him like Michael and didn't know him like that, other than I would run into him from time to time. And I really loved that era of the Cavs, even though they were, not necessarily great. It was LeBron's kind of coming in, and they were struggling, and they still had Ricky Davis, and was Darius Miles there too, Michael?
Darius Miles.
Yeah.
The three that I think, really, Ricky Davis, Darius Miles, and Iron Newble. Those are the three that let's just say, that's a good way to say it, Sam. Tested his patience and ran into the ire of the big man a few times. Those three in particular, yes.
Yeah, I did do some work for the NBA Retired Players Association as a magazine. And I did some work for that, and I had to call all these legends, for this piece. So I'm calling all these legends. I get to Paul Silas, and very cordial, very nice, and says, I just remember his one line. He said, "Well, who else have you talked to so far?" And I named off some names: Artis Gilmore, Robert Reed, a couple of these other guys, and then I said Rick Barry, and he goes, "Oh, how was that talking to Rick?" And I said, he was a little, and he just let out this big laugh. And I remember Paul Silas said, "Don't feel bad. He's that way with everybody." And he said, "He wasn't that way with me ever on the court, but off the court, he could be a tough guy." And then Paul says, "And we all know I'm the real tough guy," and kind of laughed,
sir.
but he really was. So always, any interactions I had with him, just fantastic guy, and obviously a guy who the players respected, given just, if nothing else, his overall size. But as Michael said, he's truly one of those guys that you think about when you think about the NBA. There's probably 200 of them. He was definitely one of them.
Yeah, well, with that note, that does it for this episode of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Shouts to DrafKings Sportsbook. Download the app today. Signing up with our promo code P3Cavs, you'll receive $200 and free bets in your account when it becomes legal in January. Federal restrictions apply. Make sure you check that out. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-589-9966 for 21 years age and older. You have to be physically present in Ohio to play. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his works and writings at hoopswire.com and at Wire Hoops. You can follow Reghi on Twitter at Michael Reghi. Make sure to check out the R&R podcast. Follow Reg on Twitter. Guys, who wins the Junkyard Dog Award for this episode?
I'll give it to Michael. I
No,
really
you gotta
will.
give it to Reg.
Yeah,
You gotta give it to him.
No, I can't commit to do that.
Yeah,
We'll go
that's how it works,
I'm gonna go
man.
with Sam.
No, Michael, if you were on the podcast more often, you would understand that I never win. So
You never
we've
win?
got
Well,
it.
then-
No. Chase
what the hell's wrong with
Chase
that
is
then? How come you
biased.
never win? Chase is
Oh,
biased.
Oh, yeah.
I
Must
never
be.
decide who wins.
I think we'll give it to Michael.
Yeah, of
And then-
course, Reg.
And then,
Well, I
that way
humbly
you'll know.
accept it then, Sam, but
All
you're
right.
always, on the cutting edge of you're my go-to guy, anything Cavaliers and NBA. So, I enjoy everything you do.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will gladly accept second yet again. Second in the running. Runner-up.
That's not right. That's not right, Chase.
Reg, any final thoughts, man? What do you got, Reg?
Again, my final thoughts are I'm really looking forward. I am excited about this Cavalier squad and really looking forward to how this season projects and plays out. And let's hope it's one that has the fan base extremely excited as we get into April to finish the regular season, the month of May, and dare I say June, that
Let's
the wine and
go.
gold could still be playing then, dare I say.
Let's go. Cleveland in June is nice. Sam, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that'd be great to get an opportunity to cover another finals in Cleveland. But I think they're chugging right along. There are moments of frustration, but guess what? You ask any fan base in the NBA, and they're going to tell you the same thing. And the bottom line is, you look at this team, and when totally healthy, has Rubio back, yeah, they're already in third place in the Eastern Conference. They could do something. I don't suspect they're going to do something, get in the finals this year, but you never know. So I think it's great to keep following them, not let you get too frustrated with them.
Great. Well, I never get frustrated with you guys. I just want to say that right now. You guys are the best. Thank you for joining us tonight. Michael, Sam, always great talking to you.
Thank you, Chase.
You too, Chase.
All right, Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.